Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. This is rather hot news. This is pretty new, coming out today here, Bangkok time. This will be published 3:45 p.m. here this afternoon in Thailand. But I came upon this. I'll get into the article real quick. But this is fairly recent announcement. Trump is now talking about, President-elect Trump, I should say, is now talking about this notion of an external revenue service. And basically, as noted in the title of this video, we're asking the question, is this going to have an impact on American expats overseas? I expect it will, but wait for the end of this because I'm not entirely sure it'll have any impact on expats here in Thailand. That said, I thought of making this video after reading a recent article from it's from Reuters, Reuters.com. Article is titled, Trump says he will create new agency to collect revenue from foreign sources. Quoting directly, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump said on Tuesday he will create a new government agency called the External Revenue Service, quote, to collect tariffs, duties, and this I thought was interesting, all revenue. Again, quoting again, and all revenue. Okay? Quoting further, from foreign sources as he readies new import tariffs ahead of his inauguration next week. Trump said in a social media post he would create the department on January 20th, the day he takes office as president for the second term. So I like how he's coming in, and there's been a lot of talk. We did a video. He sort of said that, hey, I'm looking to give expats some, throw them a bone. But then on Jan 20th, one of the first things he's going to do is add more bureaucracy, presumably to the revenue services of the United States, add more tax bureaucracy. That's the plan. That said, quoting further, the day he takes office as president for a second term, adding that Americans have been taxed for too long by the Internal Revenue Service. Well, why don't you just abolish the IRS? Why create another tax agency? So, hey, Americans are taxed too much by the Internal Revenue Service. Honestly, I have to honestly also note the level of doublespeak that Trump has started, it's almost, you almost have to watch him like a lawyer to interpret what he's saying. Because again, he said Americans have been taxed for too long by the Internal Revenue Service. He's not saying we're getting rid of that or they're not going to be taxed at all. No, we're creating another thing for external, which by the way, tariffs end up getting paid by the people that buy the products. That cost gets passed along. The thing that's creeping me out, and I want to continue this quote, but real quick, is that all other revenue. I'll get into that here in a moment, though. Quoting further, quote, through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements, the American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It is time for that to change, the Republican said in a post on Truth Social. This is just like immigration was in the first term. He talked and talked, we need to reform it, we need to change it, but then he didn't do anything. We didn't get comprehensive immigration reform, despite the fact in his first term he had a Republican Congress and people were pretty willing to talk about comprehensive immigration reform. Again, he was new. He'd never been in federal office at all, so he didn't really know how things got done. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for not getting CIR passed, comprehensive immigration reform passed, but he has this same MO. And that is, again, from this quote, through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements, the American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It is time for that to change. By what? Taxing ourselves more? Adding another revenue service on top of that? And meanwhile, if we're being victimized by pathetically weak trade agreements, why don't you go out and just renegotiate the trade agreements? Again, they did the same thing with U.S. immigration the first term. Talked a lot about U.S. immigration, attacked all the legal immigrants. Stephen Miller went in there and did all kinds of firebombing, effectively throwing administrative Molotov cocktails at the administrative functions of the Immigration Service, and it resulted in effectively, a massive, how do I put it? A massive destruction of the efficiency of the USCIS and the immigration system. I noticed that in the final days of Trump and all throughout the Biden administration, which, by the way, they don't deserve any real credit because they didn't turn any of this around or fix any of it. But again, this is the kind of MO that we saw with Trump before, which is, oh, there's a problem. Hey, let's go over and do this thing that is totally, it's like, well, if the problem is trade agreements, let's work on the trade agreements. Why are we creating an external revenue service? Quoting further, we will begin charging those that make money off of us with trade, and they will start paying finally their fair share. You know, for all those folks, myself included, that have hated hearing from the left primarily for years, their fair share. Here we are out here, American expats. I'm starting to wonder what's going on with this when we have this all other revenue or all revenue abroad talk, and then their fair share. You know, again, I've said it in the past, you know, expats and criminals are the only two people that have no constituency. What are we talking about there? Well, politicians don't have to care about convicts in the United States. They can't vote, primarily. You know, it depends on circumstances, but, you know, like at the federal level, they don't care about federal criminals particularly because they can't vote in federal elections, especially felons. So they have no constituency. Expats are similar. We leave the United States, nobody cares about us. Meanwhile, we're not taking anything, you know, we're not drawing off of the resources of the mother country. And then meanwhile, they all come out here and now they want an external revenue service, which I have to imagine is going to have some kind of, is going to place some kind of scrutiny on expats abroad. At the very least, their businesses that are possibly importing back into the United States. And again, it just reminds me of the MO from the first term, which is, oh, we have a problem. Here's a solution that has nothing to do with the underlying problem, but just creates more problems for you or for people who are trying to abide by the law. And I'm hoping, I'm truly giving Trump the benefit of the doubt. It's my opinion that the first 10 days, we're going to see where the rubber hits the road. That said, we're getting close to those first 10 days, and he's talking a lot of stuff. And, you know, at a certain point, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. You know, he's talking about an external revenue service. I can't figure out for the life of me why. And meanwhile, it has me questioning, hey, is this all about trade or are they looking at expats? That said, quoting further, a spokesperson for Trump's transition team could not be immediately reached for comment to clarify Trump's statement or explain how the new agency would work. Well, neat, you know. Quoting further, Trump did not specify whether the new agency would replace collections, opens new tab of tariffs, duties, fees, and fines by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or collection of taxes on foreign corporate and individual income by the IRS. I quote that again, or collection of taxes on foreign corporate and individual income by the IRS. So on an individual level, this is creeping me out no end. Secondly, I'm really getting tired of these, quite frankly, tax, what I've called stamp pimps running around the world, which it looks to me like Janet Yellen created a bunch of these people and they're running around the world like parasites. And now this new administration seems to be coming in hot on their heels to, it seems, continue their work, I guess. Now, that said, individuals, you know, you're always going to be stuck, as Americans, we're stuck with sort of worldwide tax liability, at least as the system stands. Remember when Trump was talking about getting rid of the IRS entirely? Yeah, or the income tax entirely? Yeah, what happened to that? But now that he's actually going into power, you know, the tone is changing. Meanwhile, point I'm trying to make here is, okay, foreign or tax on Americans abroad, we're already stuck with that. That said, American amity companies, as I've discussed in other videos and I've briefed out in the past, are, in my opinion, domestic non-resident corporations of the United States. So they're not treated as foreign per se for purposes of tax matters. I've gotten into that in other videos, but that may be one comfort, cold comfort as it may be one comfort to American expats here in Thailand, especially those that have an amity company, because again, they may not get sucked under whatever net it is that Trump is trying to throw out there. That said, quoting further, it also was unclear whether the move would create additional government bureaucracy, which would appear to go against the plans of Trump's informal Department of Government Efficiency. Yeah, I find it very interesting when it comes down to, oh, can we get some tax revenue? Government efficiency seems to just get thrown out the window. I myself am cautiously optimistic that DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, will be able to get something done. That said, having observed politics for decades now, you know, it's my opinion that trying to get rid of government programs is not like herding cats. It's more like trying to get rid of herpes. They just don't go away at the end of the day. But that being said, look, this is where we're at, and Remains to be seen what exactly he's going to do. Trump is known to throw up smoke screens. Trump is known to speak hyperbolically, and then down the road he sort of walks things back, or he does that for a purpose in order to gain an advantage somewhere else. Remains to be seen how all this is going to work, but we'll certainly keep you updated on this channel as the situation evolves.